Once again, welcome to today's webinar, which will dwell on exploring agricultural waste for sustainable textiles. We are looking at the potential of agricultural waste for sustainable textiles. And to start us off, I would like to welcome the Program Director for Textile and Apparel at Gatsby Africa, Ms. Antoinette Tesha, who will lead us in the introductory session, then I will come back. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Joseph, and good morning, everyone. Absolute pleasure to be here today. As introduced, my name is Antoinette Tesha. I'm the Program Director for Textile and Apparel. To start, I have a small presentation, just a second, which to take you through why you were here today and what we aim as part of our work in this value chain. So let me begin by just saying welcome everyone and good morning. So firstly, let's talk about who we are. So Gatsby Africa is a foundation. We're founded by Sainsbury's from the UK, and we've been in East Africa for over 30 years, working in different value chains. At the moment, our head office is in Kenya, but we also operate in Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda across various value chains. We have quite a diverse portfolio from agricultural inputs, aquaculture, commercial forestry, livestock, tea, water, and today we are the Textile and Apparel team taking you through this webinar. And we are a funder implementer, so we fund our own initiatives, we implement our own projects, but then we also partner with others. The essence actually of this webinar is to bring forward what we see can happen and the power of partnerships across different industries and initiatives. Ultimately, our aim is to build stronger and more inclusive economies and to contribute to the development of industries, jobs, and higher incomes in the East African region. So as a Textile and Apparel program, we focus on 4 key intervention areas to support the industry and industrial growth. We look at investment attraction, and we support factories to set up. We do business linkages across different elements of the value chain. We also give technical assistance to factories which are already in the region. And then we work around positioning East Africa as the next green, innovative, and responsible manufacturing hub. Ultimately, all these activities should contribute to the development of additional regional verticality, being from a farm all the way to fashion and end products and to recycling. We aim to build a best-in-class socially and environmentally responsible textile and garments hub in East Africa, and we're looking at different products across the whole value chain. So today we're really going into green manufacturing and looking at natural and expanding of natural fibers. When we talk about textile and apparel, often people always think about cotton or synthetics, but through our partners, we've been able to find out that you can actually have so many multiple types of fabrics, fibers, natural inputs that can make a garment. Science and technology has really gone forward. And actually, some of it is technologies that we had in the past, but we're bringing back into the future. So we're very excited to host our colleagues today from Nextevo. And I don't want to take a lot of their thunder, but just to give you also an overview of the other things that we do. At the moment, we're working really to bring solutions into the East Africa region. So exploring things such as water management, technologies in factories, better dyeing technology to reduce waste, looking at changing PET plastics to textiles, working on alternative fibres, which is the subject of today, and really look about getting resource efficiency across the value chain. Some of the other initiatives that we have this year, apart from the traditional linkages with responsible brands and bringing more responsible sourcing into the region. I've already spoken about verticality. We also have a very exciting project around measuring CO2 emissions in our factories in East Africa. And our bread and butter work is really working on international standards, social and safety compliance, and also really promoting East Africa as a green zone. So with that I hope short enough introduction, I want to hand over back to my colleague Joseph, who will take us through the webinar. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And just for some housekeeping, we do have a chat open. If you have any questions, if you want to raise any awareness about the work that you're doing as we go into this webinar, please just drop it into the chat and we'll be happy to connect later. So over to you, Joseph. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antoinette, for that introduction. I will now proceed to just lay the ground for the keynote speaker. And to do that, I will just go back to my slides. I hope you can see my slides. Yes. So before I proceed, I want to just highlight that we shall be having another webinar on the 5th of September, which will specifically delve much deeper into the pineapple fiber. Today, there will be it's an overview of the potential of different fibers. But on the 5th of September, please mark your calendars. It will be very much in-depth, and you wouldn't want to miss that if you find it of interest. That's the flyer on the screen, specifically for the 5th of September. At the end of this webinar, we will launch the link. People can start registering, so look out for it. And before I hand over to the keynote speaker, I just want to mention why we are in this space. And if you've been looking at the media, if you have been looking at the trends, it is very clear that there's a lot of push towards circularity, and specifically in our sector, circular textiles. We can see brands who basically are the ones who place the business, putting very specific targets on circularity. At the same time, fiber-to-fiber recycling technologies are coming up. They're growing every day. A lot of investment is happening in trying to be fully circular. And then there is also that drift from fast fashion back to slow fashion. I think the world has come to the realization that, we need to think about the future, and fast fashion will not get us there. Then there is a lot of debate between man-made and natural fibers, and there's a lot of pushback towards natural fibers because fast fashion opened the door very wide for man-made fibers. But now there is a talk towards, let's slow down and also let's look at these natural fibers. Let's try and use more natural fibers which have less problem and they have more potential for circularity. And also, there's also a trend towards utilizing textile waste so that it's not waste, but bring it back into, give it more life, extending the life of that waste, as well as repair and reuse models. This is another very big trend that is picking up. So these are some of the major trends we are keeping an eye on, but of course today we are focusing on alternative natural fibers. So just to introduce the next speaker, Mr. Harold Ko. This is one of those people who needs to be cloned if possible. Getting his attention is very difficult. We are extremely privileged. Sometimes you can take weeks or months just to get his attention. He has over 21 years of senior leadership experience, having been the president and CEO in 3 diverse industries in Asia Pacific region, covering agriculture, load handling, and automobiles. He has served for 9 years as president director and CEO of the GGP, that's Great Giant Pineapple, the world's 2nd largest pineapple producer based in Indonesia. And since he concluded his tenure there, he started his own sustainable agricultural byproduct venture. He brings a wealth of experience in managing vertical integrated operations from farming, processing, and exporting to more than 60 countries globally. With this kind of experience network, the company he has built, which is Nextevo, gives strategic access to scalable agricultural waste in Southeast Asia. And today this is the first part of two-part series webinars. He would like to interact, connect with East Africa with the hope of making friends, the hope of building connections, and hopefully we create a home for him to come and set up here. So without further ado, it is my sincere pleasure to hand over to Harold.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thanks for all the kind words. Now, let me try to share you my slide here. Let's see. Okay. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So before we start, I thought it'd be really good to know who is our audience in this webinar. Perhaps Adrina, can you help me to do the first slide on here to collect the information so we know who are the people here here. Adrina?
Yep, will do.
Yeah, can you?
So if everyone can comment on the Q&A chat, then we can get to know more about our audience. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the first question is which industry are you from? And are you from the agriculture or agriculture business? Perhaps in the textiles related, or it could be in education or maybe machining. The second question is if do you belongs to any farmers association group, cooperative? And it'll be interesting to know what kind of crops that you are growing. Yeah. And the third question is more, what experience do you have in the natural fiber? Do you know anything about natural fiber? Are we able to get any someone to write in the chat, in the webinar chat?
We've got academia around. Agriculturalist on pineapple production. Farmer associations.
Oh, okay.
Quite a range of industries. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, that's very good. All right, so I'd like to start. Well, I've been introduced by Joseph in many kind ways. I'm a founder of Nextevo. The company has been established about slightly more than 4 years now. With my background, it's actually quite unnatural actually for most people. For my case, I spent 20 years in automotive. I used to work for General Motors, and it's an American company, but I was running the head of operation in Philippines, Indonesia, as well as in the region. And after that, I spent 2.5 years in the equipment business before I go into the agriculture. I'm having a problem with my slide. Just a second. Okay, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Nextevo here. What is our role in this business? After I spent 9 years in the agriculture, basically in the pineapple and a little bit of the bananas and guava, I thought that was a great thing for me to do something that's exciting. And the exciting part of this business is really in the business where I can contribute to the sustainability area. And when we talk about sustainability here, we're not just talking about environment, but it's also in regards to social impact on the things that we do. And what else can you do in agriculture or any other industries, besides agriculture, that you benefit on both area, environment as well as social? So in our business, we are now in 3 business segments. The first one is sustainable textile and fashion. This is the area that I'm going to talk about in length later on. But in addition to that, we do also involve in bioplastic as well as a biomass or biochar. So what are the plant-based natural fibers here? When the word about natural fiber, there's sometimes a lot of confusion. What are those things? Well, basically, if you look at it, plant fibers, there are 2 types. One is a non-wood, the biofibers, and the other one is the wood. So you can further segregate them from a non-wood into 6 categories, from a stem to the straw to the bast, leaf, even to the seed, foods, and grass. Now, the question here is which are those appropriate to turn the material from this to for textile application, and not only just for textile, but how about other applications which are actually plenty, right? We'll talk a little bit about that later on. And for our case, for Nextevo, we started with the pineapple leaf fiber. That's what we are working on it right now. But concurrently, we are also working on the coconut husk, and we do have plans in the near future, especially in the next 6 months to 2 years' time. We are also looking into other type of natural fibers, things like the sisal, things like the canaf, and we may also even look at jute, even though it has been there for some times. So let's look at this slide here. Why are we doing this? Besides being sustainable and getting into the industry where we talk about environment and social impact, but there must be a demand in the market for the products, right? And if you really look at the global natural fiber market in year 2021, it was valued about $4.5 billion US, and it's expected to grow over the next couple of years to 2029 at about $6.8 billion US. But if you look at this slide again, right? If you look at it in blue are basically North America. And you can look at the slide before the value there, you can see that the growth in demanding for the natural fiber is pretty high. And the second market that's growing quite rapidly is actually the one in gray color. The gray color, the yellow color, right? The yellow color is growing quite fast. When the yellow color is South America, this part is very interesting for me because I've yet to find out what is a huge growth in South America. But in South America, there's a lot about sugar, sugar canes, and as well as pineapple, plus not too much about coconuts, but they also grow a lot of soya, and that will probably drive the growth in demand of the natural fiber in those type of products with a kind of base. But in Europe, mainly are from importing from most of the countries from Asia, from the Asia, and also from a little bit from the Middle East as well as Africa. But they do have their own production, things like hemp and so on, right? So what is when you talk about growing demand for natural fiber, what are they used for? Well, if we really look at this slide again, you actually use not just in textiles, you also use in all sort of packaging, all sort of medical devices that people are looking at right now, as well as automotive industry. The biggest one among all, you'll be surprised, is actually electronics. Your mobile phone cover, you can make of these natural fibers. The PC, your laptops, even the vacuum cleaners at home, even the air conditioning covers, all this can be used with the mix of natural fibers. But today we are going to focus more on the textile instead. Oops. Sorry, there's the slide. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Having said all these things, right? How big is this really about the natural fiber? If you look at this slide here, it's a bit, well, it's a bit messy. I mean, it's a bit busy slide. But if you look at this, plant fiber contribute 28% of the total global fiber market. But in reality, the 28%, 6% come from the plant fibers, 22% come from the cottons. And in order for us to grow the other plant fibers, it actually means more utilization of agriculture waste, more growing of the natural fibers in area where soils are not fertile, where you can grow those other kind of plant fibers. Give you an example, we can grow abaca, you can grow kanaf, you can grow rami, in those lands that are less fertile and lands that are not really good to grow for food. Right? So we need to have more people growing those things in those areas. And that's where you get more supply and more utilization. And if you look at this slide, it's also horrible thing here is synthetic fiber is 64% of the total global fiber market. And that represents a huge amount. And we all know that synthetic fibers comes from the residues of oil or oil-based products. But to be fair, in this world, there's nothing today that can replace synthetic fibers. And synthetic fiber does have a lot of advantages of using it. I mean, advantages for the functionality. The only problem is that it's not very friendly to the environment. So the next question here is, what is natural fiber and what is synthetic fiber? And I thought it would be good to put up the slide here to show the audience. Natural fiber are obtained from natural sources, while the synthetic are actually man-made from petrochemical industry. And the fiber structure for the synthetic can be changed because it's man-made. They can change whatever they want to, but for natural fiber, it cannot be changed. What you see is what you get, right? And the third one is natural fiber is more biodegradable. And if you want to biodegrade the synthetic fibers, you will not believe this. It can take as long as 500 years. In terms of environmental impact, one is definitely more friendlier because it's biological, while the others are, is pretty negative, especially when you are not disposed of in the right way. And color and odor, natural fiber is natural color and odor, but the synthetic fiber, you can make it smells good, but it's all based on chemical and customized to what you need or what the marketers want you to feel, right? And of course, the one of them can absorb a lot of water, not the others. So if you can look at all this, is the big difference is really, it has good things in natural fiber. You also have a good thing in synthetic fibers. Depends on what functionality you're using it. However, one bad thing about synthetic is that it doesn't give a good environmental impact. Okay, and why use natural plant fiber then? Fiber has a few things here. One, everybody knows, is sustainable. And low carbon footprint, you have a good social impact, help the farmers, help to create jobs. On top of that, it does give a good environmental impact. But sustainability itself is not enough. If it doesn't carry any functionality, then nobody is going to use it. So it does carry a good several functionality for the natural fiber. One of them is breathable. And second, it does absorb moisture, actually is help. And one thing that's not mentioned here is that the natural fiber depends on which natural fiber. Okay, one of them is pineapple fiber or perhaps a bamboo. it has the antibacterial as well as antifungal properties in this natural fibers. And there are a few other natural fibers does have some kind of antibacterial too, but not all, right? So it does help because it's naturally ingrained into the fiber itself. Well, we talk a lot about the natural plant-based fibers. Then the question is application, right? Application in textiles, we all know very well. For apparels, it could also be used for footwear, bath towels, rugs, upholsteries. However, you also use in other areas like the composites, things like used in automotive, things that you use for packaging materials, especially in nanocellulose. And those are things that can be used using natural fiber as part of the material or the components. Well, we talk about textile, right? Today is about textile. So what do we do with the textile? What's a textile application using the natural fiber? Well, a few other natural fibers are commonly used now. One of them is pineapple. It's getting more and more popular especially in the last few years. Pineapple fiber, and the second one is the banana is also getting up and coming. And then the others, non-agricultural waste, natural fibers are rami, hemp, jute, and things like this are getting more and more attention. But natural fiber has its advantages and disadvantages in terms of the fineness. So sometimes it depends on what products you're going to make, right? So luckily for the pineapple leaf fiber, we can use it in many, many other ways, many other segments. All right. So in general, natural fiber can use it in footwear. Brands like Adidas, Nike, they are working very hard on introducing natural fiber in their brands, using in their products. Of course, you can use it in apparels and accessories like bags, things like the bags that you carry, what do you call it, the canvas bag. Home textile can be used like bath towels, bath robes. And, we also work with companies that are dealing with upholsteries for the sofas and things like this, right? So this application is so diverse in the textiles, or you can call it in the sustainable fashion, where every single area of the fashion part, you can use the sustainable fiber as part of the materials. So what is the whole entire value chain and how are you going to produce this? So I'd like to give you an example on the pineapple side. From the farm, you need, after you harvest the fruits, instead of letting the leaf to go to rot or compost where they can create methane gas in the air, the leaf are actually collected. And in this collection process, you actually create some employment for people to do the collection. And also for the farmers, they can make extra money because traditionally the leaf are leave it there to rot and there's zero value. But for this collection, normally a farmer will make some money in the process. And they also need to employ people to do the collection, and hence you can create some jobs. And then the leaf will be sent to the processing location where you do the decortication, and then after that you do the dry washing and then drying. We actually do sun drying, and then we will do the degumming process to make it ready to spin. As you can see on the in number 4, in this area, ready to spin is like cottonized pineapple leaf fiber, and the next stage after this will be spinning. So we actually spin it into a yarn. Normally we blend pineapple yarn with organic cottons, with recycled PET. And from there, you can go to the next stage where you can knit, go for knitting, or you can go for woven and make into fabrics. For the fabrics, of course, you need the garment to factories to make it into products, or the shoe factory to make it into shoes. And today, Nextevo are actually working with a number of companies, making denim jeans, we're also working on the footwear, upholstery, and as well as a canvas bag and things like this. So we actually work with 4 or 5 different segments of the sustainable fiber or sustainable textile companies that are doing this. Or Africa. So what is Africa? I know Africa is not new. I mean, it's people are using natural fiber for more than 5,000 years or probably even longer. Beside the slide that I show here, the natural fiber, beside cotton and sisal, they also use kapok. They also use kanaf in the olden days in Africa, especially in East Africa, and they use it for products like even racks, even carpets, besides just for appearance or even for roofs. Right. Now, I think we like to talk a little bit about this, right? East Africa versus Southeast Asia. Why I want to mention about this slide? Because we talk about fiber and we talk about agriculture. So how big is the agriculture in Southeast Asia versus agriculture in East Africa? And why, the impact of this? Because the impact of this is if we're going to use natural fiber to make into textile application, then you must have sizable, excuse me, hello? Just a second. Please. Sorry, it's an interruption here. So if you compare for the natural fiber, right? If you're going to use it for textile application, then you need to look at how big is East Africa in terms of agriculture producing the fiber or the leftover agriculture waste versus another region who are also an agriculture hub. And if you really look at this slide here, in terms of Southeast Asia, crops production is about 347 billion, and the East Africa is 44 billion. And the population of Southeast Asia is about 690 million, and then versus about 490 million. And in terms of employment, in Southeast Asia, it's only 27% of the population. But in East Africa, it's quite surprisingly, it's 60% of the population is involved in agriculture. So and then you come to this slide here, you talk about textile export countries. Top 10 export countries in the world, including countries like in Southeast Asia, countries like Bangladesh, countries like Vietnam, India. Number 3, number 4, number 5, all the way to, let me see, these 3. In these 3 countries, they are actually Southeast Asia countries. Southeast Asia country represent 3, 4, 5. But if you put it, India is not a Southeast Asia. India is actually a South Asia country. Excuse me. So number 3 and number 4. And then if you talk about countries like Thailand, countries like Indonesia, which are not top 10, if you look at the whole Southeast Asia, it's actually huge in terms of textile. What it means and what's the implication is that in Southeast Asia, there are a lot of natural fiber and there's a lot of potential of agriculture waste. However, in East Africa, it does not mean that it has so much lesser, but it's less, right? It actually has not as much as Southeast Asia. So let's look at this slide here. What did East Africa have? So East Africa have Pentium, is another form of bananas, and 11.4 million metric tons, and the banana itself is 11.7. So actually a lot of bananas grown in East Africa, which means that a huge potential to harvest the banana stem to convert that into fibers for textile or for something else, right? Sisal is about 78,000, and the for the rest like kanaf and the other stuff is actually not too big, right? And cotton is about 830,000 tons. So if you really look at it, yes, there are potential in the banana, in sisal, And then the last one, pineapple, 1.2 million metric tons a year. So if we can assume it can collect all this, it is really sizable. But we all know that it's not easy to collect all this, to make it scalable. So a system needs to be set up. A supply chain needs to be set up on the collection, working with the farmers, and then where shall we bring this products or this natural raw material after the collection? There must be somewhere that you can do the decortication, you process further into fiber, or if you want to process further into something else, right? Can East Africa actually do that? So the next question here is about equipment, textile machinery. The textile machinery capability in this slide, as you can see, countries like India and Bangladesh, knitting machine, they have about 16,600 for India. There are about 10,000 knitting machines in Bangladesh. But if you compare to Tanzania and Kenya, it's about 300 in each country. Ethiopia probably is 1,005, approximately 1,005. Yes, more knitting machines than Kenya and Tanzania. Weaving machine, if you look at India and Bangladesh, it's huge. One is 5.2 million, the other is 50,000. While we compare to East Africa country, again, these numbers are very small, right? So the thing here is this. If East Africa is not really, it's not scalable enough to do the value add, then what happened, right? So the idea here is like this. This purely is my view. It may not represent, the same opinion with others, but my view is like this. We should break the whole thing to build up the capability into two phases. The first phase is to grow and build a scalable volume of natural fibers. And then you export the fibers to countries like Southeast Asia, where they have a lot of capabilities to do the value add. Value add like things like spinning, things like making fabric, things like making end products in those countries. All right. So what's the objective? Why do you need to send it to Southeast Asia? Well, first, scale up your volume on all the natural fiber. Build up your supply chain first. Establish a supply chain of collection. Establish a supply chain to do the decortication. Establish a supply chain to do the inland transport and also for the port. Hopefully the port is big enough to ship those products. Once you build up that, the second part is to encourage investment to come into the country to start producing, making into spinning. Investment in spinning, into yarn, investment into fabric. That should be the second stage for East Africa. I do not know which country that has a higher priority. I will leave it to to the investors. But I think this is the right way and perhaps the proper way to progress over time. Right. So what's next? Well, what's next for this is more towards Nextevo as a company. We are exploring other type of fibers. We are looking into East Africa. In fact, we are interested to work with someone who are producing sisal, who are producing pineapple. These are the two areas that we like to explore together with the partners in East Africa, and eventually sometime next year, probably about towards end of next year, we will like to look into the bananas, because we cannot look at everything at one time. We need to do it one at a time, right? Or two at one time, not too many different types of natural fiber. And of course, we would like to work with the industrial farming, with companies that in industrial farming, with the established farmer groups or cooperative. We can work together to test the product and also to develop the product in a way that is sustainable, in a way that is positively for environment as well as positively for the social. All right. And again, our company is doing on the is focusing on the textile, but we do have the ambition to go further. Hopefully, in the future, we may even get into automotive interiors. For example, car seats, the side panels of the doors, the interior of the roof, as well as the console or the dashboards. And all the things that we do has to be based on the key element of sustainability. And and we actually mentioned here that we have five key SDGs that we are actually focusing on. And hopefully with this, we can grow together with partners that are able to add value to and grow the business and make it more successfully, and positively for the sustainability arena too. Okay, I think that's all I have in my presentation. If there's any question, I would really love to take the questions from the participants.
Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. I believe Adrina has been monitoring some of the questions and more are coming in. So Adrina, and also there are some who will be raising their hands. We'll be able to unmute them. So pick it up, Adrina, but I'm here to support.
Let me see. I couldn't see the questions here. Maybe I didn't go to the right one. Hang on a second.
We have a hand up from Mr. Santo. Maybe he can ask a question while we resolve the matters on the question. So please, Sam, unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Samuel Thuo from Ziada Solution, a local startup that is extracting banana fiber here in Kenya. My question or my suggestion is that there's a lot of potential from banana fiber here in Kenya. Unfortunately, the market is not very welcoming to the fiber. So we are currently producing, but competing with other natural fiber, for example, sisal or cotton, is a bit of a challenge because the productivity is rather low. So you find that yourself, your costing is higher. So is there any other way that this interaction can help in sourcing markets for the existing fiber that we are producing? Thank you.
Yeah, I think for your question, there are two areas that we look at, right? Number one is this is not cheap, to be honest, to harvest, to decorticate, and to make it into fiber. Sometimes it can be more expensive than synthetic fiber for the process of doing that work. But it's all about application. How can we make those fiber and turn into a products that we can create the value where customer will want to buy? So I think the product development is extremely important in this aspect. Let me share with you an example. I won't mention the name of the company, but I'll share with one example. We work with a footwear company, and the footwear company like the sustainability story, but natural fiber is expensive. Pineapple leaf fiber is expensive, and so is banana. It's not that far away. Maybe a little bit cheaper, but it's not too far away. And the thing is, how can we make this product in terms of mixing it with a recycled PET and make the product and also design the product in such a way that people love it, but the designing doesn't come from us. The designing comes from the brand, right? So we work together with them and then develop a product. And you know what? The deal is not done yet, but the potential of making the product, the market pricing is about $200 per pair of the shoes. And And if a guy can sell the pair of shoes for $200, what it means is that there's an opportunity for selling the banana fiber, just an example, right? At a higher value, because this company were able to pay a little bit more for good quality products that can fulfill the functionality of making their footwear. This is just an example, right? So the key thing is, again, product development. Build the product that have a good application.
Harold, something that I wanted to maybe highlight, which you've talked about, which is quite close to the ethos of our program, is really finding the opportunity from a product perspective and developing it alongside to the brands. The reason we're actually supporting this call as Gatsby is we see that this is an opportunity to develop a new niche market outside of the traditional cotton products in the region. And I think it really starts with getting the right brand on top, and then also highlighting the possibilities and the quantities that are available in East Africa. I think the many brands that we interact with will always say, can we do it at scale? So I do want to support what you said in terms of start first with growing the right production, develop the value chain, and create the level of scale that would attract a brand. But of course, at the center of our program is to bring as much of that processing capacity also into the region. So we see this as a journey, and we bring companies like Nextevo to the table because they have that experience of developing products. And what we're here today is to raise the awareness, but then also to see who are the interested partners who we can take to our own partner brands to highlight the opportunities that East Africa can give for them to meet their sustainability agendas. So we hope that this is really the first of many parties engaging. And absolutely, the product development side is quite important. There is such a wide range of products that could come out of these alternative fibers, and to reduce that reliance on the conventional fabrics, which we have today. So just to echo what you said, Harold, and then also to entice the audience to really do share your details, as we're here with a very clear vision of positioning the region as a supplier of this fabric. Thank you. There's a question in the chat. It's from Mr. Kamusingize Dafin. I think it's Madame, I'm not sure. The question is, great presentation, thanks. From the raw material producer's perspective, have you looked into the profitability of this industry to the farmers vis-a-vis competing alternative uses of the residues? That one's for you, Harold. And you're on mute.
Okay, I'm on mute now. To be honest, the answer is yes. Even though this is, we talk about sustainability, we talk about doing all kind of positive impact to the environment, to the people, and all. But at the end of the day, this is also a business. No business will survive for long term if you are not profitable. They need to make money. And we do have shareholders who also demand for returns. So to answer the question is yes. We were not able to do this if the farms, number one, is not able to benefit from this. If you will not benefit from this, then you will definitely not able to collect at a scalable level. All right. And second, if we ourselves are not able to sell it in a profitable way, then we were not able to make it either. So yes, the answer to the question is yes. We actually look at every single profitability elements before we even embark on this. We actually know how much the farmer should make. We haven't know how much we ourselves should make, and how much the other companies who use our products, like for example, the yen makers, how much they should make in terms of the margin. So we actually know the whole step-by-step entire supply chain of the profitability. I hope I answered that question.
Harold, there are two questions I want to highlight. One is from Charles Oyamo. He would like to know what quantities does it make sense to aggregate and ship dried fibers to Southeast Asia for further processing? So that is just to understand what quantities make sense to start shipping. And then how do you identify the partners to offtake the fibers?
Yeah, okay. The quantity what we are talking about here is not a small numbers, right? Factories in let's say in Vietnam, or factories that is in let's say in Thailand or Indonesia. In order for them to make sense, they need to do a minimum of 200 over containers of raw material a year. Basically, for the start, maybe about 50, 80 a year. But in order to scale up, they need about 200 containers a year. And without 200 containers a year, the factory will not be sizable. Still possible, but not sizable. And when it's not sizable, the cost of the production will be higher, and it's becoming a little bit more difficult to compete. And in Southeast Asia, they don't just collect from one location or from one country. They have to collect from 3 or 4 countries and to make up their 200 containers a year. We know about some guys are doing about 60, 70 containers a year. Right. Just to let you know. And what was the second question again? Sorry, I
the
forget.
Second one, and before you get to the second one, are you talking about 20 foot or 40 foot? Just to clarify.
I'm referring to the 20 footers.
Okay, 20 foot. The second one is, how do you identify the partners to take the fibers from? I think this is part of what we'll delve in the next webinar, but you can just give an overview.
Well, partners, that's a difficult question. When you talk about partner here, are you referring to the guy who have a factory that doing the production, or you're talking about the guy that is a brand? Because in this business model is like this. You can work with the brand, and the brand will talk to the factories who are doing natural fiber in Southeast Asia or even in China, and they will tell them that they need these products, and then these guys will come and buy from you. This is one way, right? Another way is to work with people like us, like Nextevo, where our focus is to process the fiber all the way to make it ready to spin. And then from ready to spin, we will work with OEMs to make into yarn and then make it to fabric. Yeah, so this is another way. Yeah.
All right, one more from Mariam, who is from the education sector, and she's indicating that there's a lot of research going on in Africa regarding natural fiber. So the question is, how can we transition to real market products? And as you respond, I just want to mention that we've had the privilege of meeting Harold when he came to Kenya, and we saw some of the products. Maybe you can highlight some of the products, how far you've gone, because you are quite advanced and not just doing research.
Oh yeah, we are already at a stage of making end products. We work with a number of companies, our customers who buy our products. One of them, the company is called Inditex. Inditex is the parents company of Zara, Bershka, Massimo Dutti, and they actually work with us to come out a product called denim. denim jeans and denim jackets, and it's sold under the brand name called Bersker, and it was online globally. And and according to them, it's not from me. They said there's a very successful launch which they did last year in this product. We also work with the brands, like the European top three upholstery brands. They are about to place an order with us to make upholstery. So and we also work with a number of companies that are doing denim jeans. We work with companies that are going to make jersey for t-shirts and then also the footwear companies. So there are a number of companies that we work with. So sometimes we do have our own way, but they also like to, based on the market and based on their experience, they may want our products to be made in a certain ways that are required. But in textile industry, it's pretty standard, right? It's either you do a woven or you do the knitting, and what's the mix of the material that you want to mix with. How many percent of pineapple fiber versus cotton, or versus recycled PET. In this case, if you do it with the footwear.
Harold, we have several more questions. The first one, and then we have a couple of hands up. So let me take the questions in the chat first, and then I'll bring the hand up afterwards. So the one from an anonymous attendee is: industrial farming of any plant is not regenerative and does not support biodiversity. How are you trying to meet SDGs when looking for commercial gains?
Why would the industrial farming will not achieve the result? In this world, there are a lot of industrial farming. I'll give you an example: growing corns, growing sisal in East Africa, growing pineapple in Costa Rica, in Philippines, growing sugarcanes. I think the industrial farming is okay, right? But the yield in general is actually higher because they do have a lot of expertise. So what goes wrong with industrial farming? Because they use excessive fertilizer, and those fertilizers are chemicals, and sometimes industrial farming, they may overutilize what we call it, overuse the land in a way that you overfarm and you degrade the soil. But again, please understand, industrial farming, and I'm not protecting them, just to say this, in general, they have a higher yield. But on the other hand, more and more of this company, will also be demanded by their customers to be more sustainable. So when they're becoming, and how are they going to be more sustainable? And the only way to be more sustainable is to use less chemical, make the soil, don't degrade the soil too much, do not have soil erosion issues. On top of that, how to reduce the carbon dioxide, by doing things like utilize the leftovers after the farmings. And that's where the whole thing comes in, right? When the industrial farm harvests the pineapple, they with leftovers are pineapple leaf and pineapple stem. What are they going to do with those things? They can leave it there to compost, but the compost without chopping takes a long time, and then you create carbon dioxide. Okay, but if they can let us or let someone, not necessarily us, to take those leaves to make into better use, it actually help the society, help the environment to use a product that's supposed to be discarded or to be landfill. So that in that aspect is actually positive. In fact, many industrial farming are looking for ways to improve their practices and make it more sustainable.
Harold, let us bring Mr. Johnson Kiwia. He's had his hand up for some time while we organize the other questions in the chat. Mr. Johnson, please unmute yourself. You have the floor. You're muted. Please unmute.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, Mr. Harold. Good morning. My name is Johnson. I do work in the Tanzania Bureau of Standard. We do produce a standard for textile, and also I'm an expert in the textile industry. I did a lot of research in the bast fiber. My question is, it is true that East Africa region is rich in various natural fiber, but is not yet utilized. My question to Mr. Harold is, what do you see? Do you see any possibility for those manufacturers in Southeast Asia or European to relocate some of their manufacture of yarns or fabric to East Africa region? Because I can see at the moment we are still focusing on exporting of raw fiber. According to SDGs, we need a decent job for our youth. What do you think about the relocation of some of the manufacturer in Asia to East Africa because we have a lot of natural fibers compared to their region? The second question is machinery. You might be aware the decortication of the bast fiber or vegetable fiber is very complicated. From retting process and the decortication is one of the complicating stages of production of the vegetable fibers. This machinery are available in what is the availability of the machinery so that our people in East Africa, is it affordable, or how, what is in your view that can be done for East African producers to have this machinery? Thank you.
Okay. Let me answer your first question. The relocation of the spinning mills or the fabric producer. Unfortunately, I would think at this stage will be difficult. This is this is all about investment. Until such time where East Africa are able to produce a scalable volume at a consistent basis, then you will attract companies to come to East Africa. Companies that are doing the yarn or spinning and the fabric, these are companies that adding value to the whole entire value chain or the supply chain. And if the raw material supply is not consistent and if it's not cost competitive, they will not be interested to invest, not just in Africa, in any other country that they couldn't make the profit. I think that is part of the the business model that every company will look at. So I did mention earlier in the presentation, the most critical thing to do is to build up a scalable volume in East Africa. And once the volume is scalable, and the government can come out with some attractive program to entice investors to come in, the chances of success is much higher. Of course, there are other issues like logistic costs, there are other issues about productivities, but all those can be tackled, right? But when there's no raw material, then this will be extremely difficult. So I think the immediate priority, in my view, is to have a consistent, scalable volume, and that will be good. Now, your second question about machinery. Natural fiber application is in today's world is new, even though people use it for a long time ago, right? 5,000 years, 6,000 years. But in this modern era, is relatively new. And equipment for decortication is not easy to come by. When I visited Kenya and Tanzania, I visited two sisal factories, productions, right? And I saw the decorticating machine. They were actually made in 1930s or 1920s, and they've still been in use after all these years. I was actually very surprised. I think the machine was fantastic. Right. And it's so mechanical, and it's so, mechanical means that you will never spoil it if you know how to manage it, right? Having said this, if this industry is going to be very serious, then we need to find some more sophisticated, more productive equipment. And decortication equipment are not easy to come by. And you asked actually the right question. So a simple question for small farmers, or we have a few farms who work together, they can use a small machine, mechanical machine, things that in terms of productivity doesn't need to be really high, or in the industrial scale, you really, really need to have a machine that is able to produce. So I went to China, I went to Taiwan, I looked at some of those machines, and there are semi-auto machines that have been built in China right now. And there are also an automatic machine they are working on right now in Taiwan. But the automatic machine or full auto machine is not ready yet. I actually saw some of those things myself. And why did I go to look at all this? Because even my company, I need to have those machines. I need to scale up the productivity. So I need those machines, the more sophisticated ones. But it will come. It will come. It's just a matter of maybe another year or so. Yeah.
There is a question by Lindy. Which countries and companies are most advanced in the use of coconut byproducts for these various applications?
Oh, coconut. Oh, coconut application, unfortunately, is not for the textile. Coconut, just a hand a second. Sorry, someone in the room, so I got to inform them. Okay, the coconut application, I assume that you're referring to the coconut husk and coconut shell. If it's a coconut husk and the shell, application are very different. Coconut shell, you can use it for biomass, convert that to biochar, or you make it to activated carbon. In fact, coconut shell is the best material for making activated carbon in the world. It's the best material. And the coconut husk, you can do it for something else. You can actually extract the cocoa peat from there. And cocoa peat is good for the soil enhancement. And which country are very good at that? For the coconut husk, I think today is India and Sri Lanka. And for the coconut shell, quite a number of countries like Indonesia, India, Sri Lanka, and also Philippines. But there's none of them at this moment, I believe, are able to use a proper system to do the biochar, except one company I know of in Sri Lanka. Maybe there's one in India too. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, moving on.
I am just looking, there was a very good question. It's actually been asked by two of the participants around design. So the first one is how to work with, one is how to work with designers to help them to understand these capabilities. And then the second one is which natural fibers offer the most durable garments?
When you talk about designer are interested to design a product that for the wear, for the basically application, whether you use it for cars, you use it for seats, you use it for carpets or for apparels or even for bags, right? They themselves, in general, are very excited about doing sustainable products with the design for, but they are not the experts in functionality of the products. So if they were not able to tell you or able to talk about, oh, I like to use pineapple leaf fiber because it has antibacterial function. They were not able to do that. They were only saying that, oh, I love to use pineapple leaf fiber so I can design this bag. It looks representative to using natural fiber in such a way that people love to buy, something like this. And the design is designing, right? It's related and yet not related. I hope you understand what I mean, right? Or did I answer you the right question? Yeah, because designer, there are a lot of designers in this world, especially in Europe, especially in Singapore, and also a few, almost every country actually, I can tell you. Every country that design, they are very excited about sustainable products. They want to be part of this game. They want to be part of this growth, and they want to be part of this known that they are part of the sustainability. But they are not they don't understand the functionality of the whole things. They only know how to design the product for the market. But they like to use material that are made from sustainable source to design the product, right? Or to make the product.
Okay, we have some two more questions that I would like to highlight. One is from Mide. Mide from Team Group, manufacturing interior trims for local assembly plants. They recycle PET into flex, and the next phase is flex into polyester staple fiber, and they are looking into making pineapple fibers. So basically, it's not a question, but it's just putting his hand out there that he connects with a lot of what you've been saying, and hopefully be part of the connections we are trying to build. But the specific question is from an anonymous attendee who is asking, 70% of agriculture in East Africa is smallholder. Why not support these smallholders who actually account for 80% of all the food to invest in value addition? I think you did touch on industrial scale production, but maybe you can highlight some examples of small scale groups that you are working with to indicate that it is possible to actually organize the small scale.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, we don't just work with industrial farming or farmers alone. We also work with the small scale farmers. In fact, it's not just in East Africa. It's all over the world. There are more small scale farmers than a big industrial farm. All right, and I'll give one example. We work in a small town in Indonesia where we work with in total, it's about 100 over small farmers dealing with the pineapples. And we are actually working with them not as a cooperative. Yeah, because some of them, they actually have a cooperative, but this guy doesn't even have a cooperative. This guy only work as a farmers group. So we work with a group as a collective of number of farmers, and then they will harvest the pineapple leaf from their own farm or their neighbor's farm, and then they bring it to the center location and do the decortication. So yes, we do work with them. But I also want to say something here. Working with farmers, you need more coordination. And then you also need to provide more training to them. And but I think it's necessary because you know, the joy of seeing that the farmers are having fun, doing something they've never done before. You know, in the past they only harvest the pineapple. In the free time, they do odd jobs to get something. But today, after harvesting the pineapple, after they sow it, they were very in a hurry to harvest the leaf. So they're actually now creating opportunity for them to do another work. And then they work together with a few of their neighbors who are also farmers to generate the fibers. And it's just quite exciting. It's also a program by the government. The local government supply them the equipment, the decorticator. Because of this, they are able to, they don't have to buy those decorticator because the small farmer cannot afford a decorticator. So in order for the small farming to be successful, it's quite inevitable. There are three elements here. The first is the farmers group themselves. They must willing to do this together. And number two, they must get some local government support to work with them. And number three, you need to get off-taker like us, right? Not necessarily us, but there are examples like us, which are coming in to work together with them and off-take those products from them.
All right, thank you. There's a question actually on that aspect of government. Perhaps you could give examples of some of the countries you're working with. What kind of policies, policy environment is very encouraging to such kind of developments? What can the government do to enable?
Okay, they are I can give example of Indonesia, right? Indonesia, of course there's a national government and also there's a state government and the local government. And the national policies are somewhat different from the local policy. The example I want to give you is about the local policy. And the reason why I say local government is important because they are closer to, their heart is closer to their people in a farm. National government is tend to look at bigger things. So what the local government do is that they want to raise the income of the farmers in their regency or the area where they are responsible for. And this place I'm talking about is particularly a place called Papabuli. It's in Palembang. It's a state of Palembang in the state of Indonesia. The mayor actually found us. They actually found us. We didn't find them. They actually found us, and they come to us and ask us to work with them. And so they want us to be the off-taker for the farms. And they organize the farmers as a farmers group to work together. But the government themselves doesn't have a lot of funding because in the local government, sometimes they don't get enough. So what they do is that they work with bigger companies. You know, there are national companies who actually have branches in their areas. They will go to them and ask them for the social responsibility CSR program, where the bigger company will contribute to the local farms in terms of buying the equipment or set up a small little processing area so that the farmers can actually use the area to process the pineapple leaf fiber. You know, things like this. And I think it works well. If I remember the numbers correctly, the company actually contributed about 12 decorticators to the farmers group, and there are different groups of them actually using the decorticator right now.
All right. Thank you. As we come towards the conclusion, I think we need to say something about the next webinar, because in the next webinar, we will delve much deeper and much more intense into the case study of Nextevo and how they've been able to succeed. So as Harold scrolls down to that slide, I'll give Antoinette a word.
I'm trying to, but I can't get stuck with my slide here. I don't know why it's not moving. Just a second.
You might want to stop sharing and then reshare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Harold. So this has been a fantastic conversation. And when we were preparing for this webinar, after we first met Nextevo, we were not quite sure about how it would go and how it would be received. But I think as Gatsby, what we've seen today is a lot of interest to advance the conversation. And we all recognize that East Africa has a huge potential in this space. So there is an opportunity to create a platform for continued discourse, and then also to really understand how we can grab the opportunity. Harold, you mentioned the number that was quite exciting for us. I think $6 billion is a considerable market. And as demand is continuing to grow, it means that there's real financial value on the back of this type of initiative and on this part of the sector. So if you haven't done so again, please just make sure that we have your details. Please share with us how you would want to collaborate. I expect that the next webinar will be a deep dive into pineapple, but we will likely have additional engagements and webinars, because we also recognize that we have a whole host of domestic actors and domestic players here in East Africa who are decorticating, they're designing, they're using natural fibers. And I think it would be great also to give them the platform to showcase what they're doing, in the hope that next year we're really talking about an industry and not just a project. So on behalf of the Textile team, I just want to thank Harold and Adrina for sharing with us today, and really invite everyone who participated and contributed to the discussion to continue to talk to us. We're very excited about this venture, and definitely hope we'll see you again. I'm handing you over now back to you, Harold and Joseph, to close the call. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Harold, would you like to say something, a little bit of a small insight on why people should be interested in the next webinar?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in this current one. And the next webinar, we basically would like to talk, to give a case study on how we started the business and how did we build this business to the next level. And hopefully the case study that we're going to share with the the participants, were able to give them an insight or help them to look at how they can start their own, or maybe to work with someone else in the organization, or with their family, or if it's the farmers, if it's an organization, they want to able to help out to participate in this. And and hopefully that we all together can do something and improve and increase the natural fiber business in for the world and to the world.
All right. Thank you. As we come to the close, just a word to say thank you to the team that's been involved in planning this. From Nextevo side, Adrina, you've been very, very helpful. And also from our organization, we do have a team behind the scenes who have been working hard to set this one up. On the screen, you can use your QR code and you're able to get more information. But you will also receive an email as well, an invitation to register for the next one. So you're most welcome, and thank you for the participants, for majority actually staying on the entire duration. It means they must have found it extremely valuable. So thank you very much, and hopefully see as many of you as possible in the next, and share this information with others who may have wanted to be there but they missed it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.